Hello, everyone, and welcome live from New York. It's This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing with Mr. No Voice, Lauren Gray, and Mr. Edward StOnge, who's in Florida, back in Florida. Hello, Mr. Ed.
Hey, I left just in time. I mean, it was beautiful in New York this week, but man, I left yesterday and it was 40 degrees and raining.
Crazy. I mean, seriously, I actually brought my jacket, right? And when we went out, which we did a little dim sum.
I wouldn't call anything about dim sum little. We did a lot of dim sum.
Yeah, we did some damage on the dim sums. They were looking at us that I think we're the last in the restaurant at the end of the evening, and they're looking at us like, "You can go now. It's time.
Get out.
It's time. You've done page 1 and page 2 and
twice.
And stuff. Twice. and we made you some stuff we didn't think you'd eat. You still ate it, so you all got to go. I mean, Stuart can pound. Stuart can do some serious dim sum. Stuart Butler with travel anybody, just in case. But yeah, we had some fun. It was a great. And thank you. You flipped for dinner, dude. Thank you very much for dinner.
Hey, it's the most I can do.
And you know what? It was well received. It was well received. After this, it's all downhill. See,
that's right.
If he picked affordable, he picked an affordable
and close. Because
yes.
Let's face it, I was tired. You were tired. Stuart was tired. I wasn't into going anywhere that took more than a couple-minute walk.
And when we're tired, it's like we didn't even want to drink. It's like no, we're good. Water's fine. We're
water,
good.
Iced tea.
Iced tea. We're all good. Diet Coke, whatever. It's like we're all good. It's all fine. But speaking of which, the reason why we're talking about this in the tents of New York is because I had the privilege of being at the Adrian's as well, but we were at the HSMAI's Digital Marketing Conference for Wednesday. We did some live coverage of it, which you'll see we also have some recordings we got to load up, but we did a live coverage at the end for all four of us. We're sitting side by side, elbow to elbow, shoulder to shoulder. And Mr. Ed actually did a really nice interview with Hilton. And since we want to recap a little bit of what happened for the day anyway, we'll just kickstart from there. What do you think? And then we'll kind of dive into doing Science Theater 3000 on some of the other stuff.
Yeah. It was first of all, a great event. It's one of my favorites to go to, and I really go for the relationships and the education, not so much to try and pick up new business or anything like that. Because one thing you can count on is some of the great minds in the industry go to this event every year, and sometimes it's the only time you can see them. And so it's nice to just catch up, hear what they're up to. And they share so much for this event, so I enjoyed it.
It was fun. It had, to me, it was a bit of a mixed bag because to your point, it's like old home week. When you're in this industry long enough or get to meet the really good people in the industry and know what they're doing, this is like a reunion day. Where you get to go over and hug and what you've been doing, how things are at, or at least be in person with somebody you talk to on a regular basis.
Right.
And that's all good stuff. But also having come from the build the conference side for so long, I felt that the conference had its really good high moments. And then it had its, I don't think that hit the mark you wanted it to hit moments.
I'll agree with that. I mean, I kind of look past that stuff. It's hard to put on an event like this. Especially with a volunteer board that's made up of very busy people. So, I mean, I give it a little, hey, there's Mr. Butler.
Yes, Mr. Dim Sum.
It's like dim sum all over again.
Dim Sum Part 2. We were just talking about how you ate very little. Ed spent very little.
You guys are cheap dates.
Cheap dates. We're cheap dates, yeah. And then we were so tired, as we pointed out, we were just drinking water and tea because we were like, we're just more hungry than anything else.
This is funny.
Give us the food. Yeah, it was all true. It's all true. We're just kind of, I'm being a little bit, ironically, I'm being a little bit more critical than Ed is at this particular moment.
What?
Yeah, I know. I know. Usually Ed's baseline on this one, but for me,
you know what it is. I'm already home and happy. He's still living. He hasn't left yet.
The vibe's still here.
Are you still in New York? Holy cow! Yeah. I would be miserable too.
Well, the weather change. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, okay, so we went out and we're walking around in a t-shirt, and then
it was like 70 degrees at night, and yesterday it was rainy and cold. Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, I'm bundled up with a jacket walking around today. It's like, that misty cold, gray area, gray clouds kind of stuff. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, that's what it should be this time of year.
Yes,
yes.
Thankful that Tuesday was nice, right? But
yeah, it really was nice. I remember a couple years back we had that nasty snow that didn't go anywhere. That was fun around here. I mean, little narrow walkways to get between the streets because all the snow had piled up so much. And of course, New Yorkers just threw trash on top of it. Some more snow went on trash. Yeah, it was a pretty place. It was a pretty place.
So let me hear your criticism. What about the event?
Ed was defending the fact that these are hard to put together. And firsthand, I will say that I agree from a volunteer perspective. Sure. It's like herding cats. But I felt that the conference in its entirety, there were some really great points. There was one amazingly spectacular 7-minute session, I remember. But there was also like the closing keynote. It underwhelmed me. I mean, it's not like it was a bad thing. It just wasn't at the same caliber level some of the other presentations were. And to me, I judge conferences.
Yeah, but to be fair, what was last year's ending keynote?
As memorable as this one.
Right. I mean, listen, if you're not paying someone to come, like,
I think those guys get paid. Yeah, they paid him.
I would assume he was.
Oh, then they got ripped off.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. No, I'm saying. I enjoyed
he had some good points. You know, his delivery was entertaining, but I felt like there wasn't a takeaway. You know, I think that was my thing.
Well, and we had discussed on the way to dim sum. My big problem is you know, he was labeling himself as a futurist, but he was really talking about the next 6 to 12 months.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, futurist should be someone who's stretching the minds of the people in that room, and anyone minds that he stretched is not even paying attention.
Well, his criteria was, I built a business out of upcoming things that were happening, hence, therefore, I'm a futurist. It's like, no, you judged where the market was going to go smartly and wisely, successfully did that a couple of times, a few times. So that's not futurist.
He was an opportunist.
Yeah, he's an opportunist.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You didn't develop anything you did. You didn't do anything new. You just actually reported on what people were doing.
I thought it was great. I mean, I liked the entertainment side of him. I just, you know, I didn't get the why, right? So we start out the show in great fashion with a phenomenal speaker, right? Talking about a really valid point that I think everyone that hasn't learned about the Golden Circle needs to go just Google the Golden Circle and watch the
Just don't click the edge search, okay?
No. Yeah. And don't do autofill, golden, you know, but the Golden Circle. And go watch the original TED Talk on that. It's phenomenal, right? And he re-emphasized it. But, you know, I'd been hearing this for, I don't know, 10 years, how long it's been around. But he gave a fresh twist on it. He added some new things to it. So I really enjoyed the inspiration from that. I just, you know, that was a great start. I just felt like the end was anticlimactic because it was like, well, it didn't really relate to anything we talked about, you know, and there was no real take home from it.
No, and
it made me laugh a few times, but that was about it.
Yeah. You know, one thing I'm glad about, and maybe it was just because I missed the session that did this, but I didn't hear anyone talk about blockchain.
Actually,
I didn't hear it once.
We kind of warned everybody. I'm just saying, there was a note that went around that said, "Listen, you know, if you don't want to go and get into a fight with Ed, don't mention the BC word. Don't
I would have gone up on stage.
Oh, we know that's the thing.
Kanye style. Yeah,
I would have done the shame on you. You don't belong up here. Sorry.
No, for those of us that were speaking, they told us beforehand, no F-bombs on stage and no B-bombs. B-bomb being the blockchain. Yeah.
Whatever happens, don't let Ed ask a question. Just don't.
Yeah, don't call on him.
Don't call
that.
Although Chris LaRose made the mistake of calling on me, and he knew he was doing it. I mean, he smirked when I put my hand up. So then I felt the pressure. I actually had to ask him a good question that helped him.
I missed that session. What was Chris? Chris is with Hilton, right? What did he talk about?
Yeah, Chris is with Hilton, and so he was talking about the similarities between digital marketers and revenue managers, and strategies on how to work closer together and converge them, because they should be. Mm-hmm. And he was talking in some high levels, and so one of the things I had asked him, because he brought up the whole idea of you need, in order to really operate well, you need to get out of the cycle of short-term thinking, and you need to get your strategy laid out and sold internally and communicated and aligned and all of that. And so my question is what advice does he have to the digital marketers in this room on how to get out of this 30, 60, 90-day focus cycle. And he had pretty good advice for them. So there you go.
What were some of his ideas?
Oh, Lauren, don't put me on the spot.
Ed didn't listen to the response.
He didn't listen to the answer. He just asked the question. Because for me,
it was a fantastic question. That's all I knew. He actually had some good advice on being in the revenue meeting every week, and basically said if you're not, you're leaving opportunity for emergencies to fall on your doorstep, and so that was kind of the gist of the response was infusing yourself into.
Communicating and collaborating, that's amazing, right? When you communicate, you learn more and you're more effective.
It blew my mind. I didn't ever think of that. So,
well, it's got to play. Okay, so it must be because Ed and I were in physical proximity to each other that some of the normal Edisms have rubbed off, and apparently some of the normal Laurenisms have rubbed off on Ed, because I'm on a much more negative tier these days, where it's like, yeah, that's like your parents putting you with some asshole little kid that you don't like when you're a little kid. Okay, and then while you're in front of them, you're playing nice, and as soon as they turn around, you slap and you beat each other up, and then they turn back and you're playing nice together again. Okay, that's my mentality, because at his level, he'll walk into any hotel. It's like, listen, y'all got to sit together, talk together. You show up at their meetings, and everybody's like, yes, Dad. And as soon as he's leaving, it's like, they get at each other. To me,
they're still siloed.
We've been at this place for a while. This is not new stuff of y'all get to play together. Just nobody's actually hammering on them. And it's like, what exactly do you do to play together? And it means you got to trust each other and pony up some data that you probably didn't want to share initially, and own it, and realize that if you don't both work on it, you're never going to get out of the room together.
Yeah, but his point of view, I thought, was pretty legit, which is the digital marketers of today are basically the revenue managers of the late 90s, early 2000s. It's the same type of person.
Yes.
It's someone who's stepping into something that they're not getting generally trained up for, but they're being given some pretty strong responsibility to figure out. And and I think it is true. I've always thought that if you remember, most revenue managers came from the call center or the front desk, and just kind of moved into this thing. And digital marketers, you're seeing a lot of the same, type of progression where it's a position that never existed. For some reason, they both exist as two separate positions, where in most other industries, it's just called e-commerce. And it's one position, it's one department. It's merchandising, pricing, positioning. That's e-commerce. So listen, we can pick on the fact that it's ludicrous he has to talk about it, but let's not forget the industry. It's the reality, and at least it is someone from Hilton saying,
right.
And independent hotels know this. But it's at least someone from one of the bigger brands out there saying, hey, Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Now, to that point, okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So I was going to say that the clients of ours that we deal with that have got this right, they all share some common DNA, and that is that the revenue managers and the marketing team are one team. They act together. They go out and drink together. They socialize together. They genuinely like each other. So it's a real single team mentality. And they also have a single scoreboard. They're all measuring the same data. They're all looking at the same KPIs. They all have the same goals to chase. And that to me changes behavior when you're all chasing the same goals.
Yeah. Well, I will say that I felt in the conversations that I did have at the conference that there's a not growing sentiment, but a divergence of sentiment. For the past year, we've been talking about how revenue managers have really been being plucked out of the data science world or the math world, and that they're not really coming, as you said, Ed, from the reservation center front desk as much, where they're actually looking at, especially at corporate level, where it's like, oh, we need these people that know how to really crunch the numbers. And what's happening is you're getting a lot of non-hospitality, non-industry language able people dealing with revenue control issues. And I think, if anything, to say in a nutshell is that the marketing people's blend with them is like giving the Tin Man a heart. that the marketing people can somehow humanize, or at least in industry temper these data people to understanding the industry that they now have a very large influence on with their revenue strategies.
But I applaud our industry for pulling outside professionals in, because here's the thing, like, there's not an awful lot of education, advanced education being offered inside the industry to get people up to that data science level. So, you either, set the foundation so people can rise up to that level and have the resources to do it, or you bring in experts who've done it for other industries and you get them to train teams and, and go that route. It's something I would encourage this industry to do a lot more of, bringing in, highly talented outside positions to bring skills into this industry that are sorely lacking,
and if not very much perspective. But you know what? I think what happened to Stuart is you witnessed that we did a body swap. I don't know whether you noticed, but Ed and I ate the same.
I'm in shock right now.
You know what I'm saying? In shock. I'm actually Ed. All right, I'm Ed.
We both touched a piece of dim sum at the same time.
Fortune cookie. It was a fortune cookie.
Yeah,
there you go. Fortune cookie, and boom, body swap.
It's like vice versa. Yeah,
I'm over here. It's like, this is this, and Ed's back there's like, back off, dude.
Well, listen, it's actually something I want more people talking about, which is converging revenue management and digital marketing. So, I mean, it's really why I'm defending it.
And by digital marketing, you mean marketing, right?
I have to say it, though. Because if I just say marketing, people are going to be like, why does revenue management care about print ads?
Can we merge digital marketing and marketing before we merge with revenue management, please?
What? It was at the keynote. Someone was talking about having to pull budget from their marketing budget to
someone on one of the roundtables. Yeah, they were pulling budget from marketing to put into digital marketing. Like, that's like, all marketing.
Shouldn't that just be like I pulled money out of my back left pocket to put it in my back right pocket?
Yeah. Or I'm reducing print or something to put into AdWords. I get that, but it's not from one complete bucket to another. It's all marketing.
Right.
True.
Crazy.
Yeah. So anything other than the amazing 7-minute presentation by nameless individuals, is there any other presentation that stood out that you attended that were like, you know what, they made some good points?
I really like the one right after me. I forget the lady's name.
Lauren.
Yeah, Lauren. So I should remember.
The nervous girl. Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't show it hardly at all. I mean, she was very nervous before.
From Mohawks. Yeah.
She did a phenomenal job. So
Lauren Perez.
She did really good. I felt from a content perspective, I took most out of that. I felt like she gave a real good example of how you can change the status quo, and how they did it was basically taking what was a preconceived notion that in the winter no one comes and travels to their property, and flipping it completely and doing a big direct marketing campaign to get people interested in coming to their property during this winter wonderland period, and turned a very soft period traditionally into a very popular one. And she said they had to get buy-in from internal stakeholders because everyone was like, it's crap this time of year. No one comes this time of year. So she had to deal with a lot of that negativity. But once she got the internal marketing figured out, they all worked together on the external marketing, and it was a big success. Millions of dollars, in additional revenue in what's traditionally an off season. So that was really good.
And to that point, I've talked to a number of people that they create their own paradigm. This is the time of year that we have business. This is the source of where we get our business from. So that must be the only place we get business at this time of year. And they don't outthink and say, maybe just because these people in this region don't know us, we should try it. Or that thing we tried and failed last time was because it happened last time. Maybe it'll work this time. Different scenario, different circumstances. So she really did break the mold by doing what you said, where they were always saying, hey, nobody comes during the winter.
Yeah, well, and here's what was really nice is she was a property level person talking about a property level problem and how she solved it. And I still think that this event does not have enough of that. This event is still, last year White Lodging had presented a lot of their really big initiatives in marketing. And honestly, I just thought it didn't matter because only White Lodging or Hersha, would be big enough to pull off what they were sharing. And it wasn't at all scaled down. to the everyday hotel. So I think I think that's one of the things I really liked about them having Lauren up there presenting what she did. Was, while it may not look sexy in the marketing material, I think it's more relevant to the audience than most of the other stuff. I mean, with the exception of this tiny agency did this really good presentation
See,
about.
I was going to
I
say
missed that one.
I was going to bring in the sexy comment. It's like, now, if you want to talk about sexy presentation.
No, actually, I mean,
Just
Lauren and I kid, but both of us agreed that the absolute best 7-minute presentation was that of our own Stuart Butler,
Yes,
presenting the second coming of a mobile tipping point.
I don't know about the best. It was the best one I presented. I'll give you that. But I felt like, when I was given just 7 minutes, it's really tough to squeeze in a message in 7 minutes. So I wanted to make sure I had data to back it up, and I had something tangible for people to take from it to go and apply. And, we managed to accomplish that. And get ready for the second mobile tipping point, because some of our clients are going to hit it this year. December 2018 we're going to have people getting more bookings from mobile phones than they are from their desktop. So,
and to keep the compliments rolling for this, there's two things I absolutely admired about the presentation, which I also catch through in the podcast. You use the word "we" all the time. You never say "I." You always say "we." And when you refer to stuff, you refer to it into the context of affirmation, not guesstimation or anything. You're just like, this is our data. This is what we have.
Yeah, I mean,
very well, because you
See,
that's our culture.
I liked it for a couple of different reasons. I liked it because, one, you really raised awareness on something that's not being talked about a lot, and I think the audience really appreciated that. Two, you did a fantastic job without using a single in-your-face sales tactic on selling the fact that Fuel Travel is helping usher in the second mobile tipping point for all of your clients way ahead of the expected schedule of that tipping point. And then you explained what are some of the tangible things that you have done to make that happen by lowering the friction to completing the transaction in the mobile booking experience. And then you actually gave tangible, simple things that the hotels could go tomorrow and implement even without working with you. So what I liked about it is you added value by making them aware of of something that's forthcoming, and that you've been at the forefront of. You did a good job of raising the awareness that you guys are pushing your clients into the future without being over salesy, and then you gave them takeaways that they could improve their business with. And so that is just really nice, because I find that when vendors go up to try and talk in these things, most of them, unfortunately, just straight up sales pitch.
Straight up sale, yeah.
But the others tend to try and go completely the opposite way, which I think loses some of the benefit for someone in the audience who does agree with what you're saying. If they don't know that you can actually help them with it, it frustrates them as well. So I thought the balance of that was really strong, and you were either incredibly thoughtful in putting this presentation together, or you just got really lucky that it happened to work out that way.
A little bit of both. Column A and column B. Yeah, we that's our culture. If anyone that works with us gets to see that every day. We never in your face about we have opinions and we back it up with data, but we never you have to use us to do this. It's
opinions with data are not opinions.
This is true, but we want to help people, and whether that's you pay us to help you or we help you find someone else that you can pay to help you, it doesn't matter. We just want to help, and we'll find our spot in that somewhere along the line. And I think that comes through in all our presentations that we do. Not just me,
that way. The best place to hide is hide in the wide open. If they had to learn it from me, then okay, that means I'm on the trail ahead of you. That's all. But yeah, no. To that point, I have to give you the same compliment that you're very good about making sure that the data is out there for its value, not for its purpose of sellability to it.
Yeah, that's why we do the podcast. I mean, our secret sauce is not secret. I mean, everything we do that is successful, we talk about on the podcast every week, and anyone can emulate it. It just takes hard work and a little bit of strategy. That's it.
All your secret sauce is public gravy.
Public gravy.
That sounds weird. That sounds really weird.
Marketing.
Yeah.
So since I'm channeling Ed more today than Ed is channeling himself, can we listen about the vendors that repped out for the conference a little bit? Who was there? How well did they play into what the market was for what they were offering as service products? Did you which one of these don't belong to the other? Did you see anybody stand out that was like, what you doing here? What do you think is going to happen here?
None of them. I didn't really talk to. I talked to maybe 4 or 5, and none of them really blew me away. Like no one was doing anything, innovative. And it was the usual suspects that you'd expect to see there, and a couple of new guys that I hadn't heard of before. But
I thought it was nice to see Screen Pilot out there. I really like Screen Pilot.
I didn't get to talk to them. Talk about them a little bit.
They're very much like you guys at Fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So we came across them and started working on projects with them because of Benchmark. So they help Benchmark with quite a few things in the world of marketing. But they're very similar to our points of view, which is it's better to breed success through good moves and ethical treatment of customers and long-term relationship type things than it is to jump on bandwagons or say the word blockchain.
The bright and shiny stuff.
And they're just good. They're good people who do really good work. So it was nice. It was nice to see them at this event and to be able to catch up with them. Infor, did you guys happen to talk to Infor and why they were there? That's exciting.
I did pick up a little window shade thing for my my laptop. Looked like, I can close my shade and I can open my shade. I love that little thing. So
they seem to be doing what I felt like PMS companies should have been doing a while ago, right? Which is in getting more involved in the data side, especially on the marketing side of data. And we had a good conversation about integration, and I think you're going to see some partnerships there between Fuel and Infor because they're thinking about it the way I was hoping that the PMSs would for a long time.
Yeah, and I was pretty excited that they were there. One, because I didn't know they were going in that direction, but two, it really would be nice to have PMSs at marketing events because I feel like some PMSs don't understand marketing at all for hotels, and I think that's part of why we're in the problems we're in.
Right.
And, the disjointed access to data and connectivity.
Yeah, prime example of that is, and especially because marketing and revenue management don't talk, right? So the marketing team sometimes doesn't know how much revenue a property is generating maybe outside of the direct channels, right? There may be the revenue managers that are handling the third parties and the OTAs. So we've had situations where people come to us, say, our online bookings are down tremendously this year. Why is this? And we start digging. Can't really see anything on the online side, but as soon as we start overlaying online data with PMS data and you start seeing third-party reliance has gone up tremendously and that rate parity is completely gone to shit, then that's the problem. But you wouldn't have identified that by just looking at the marketing data in isolation because these are siloed groups looking at different score sheets.
Yeah. Which goes back to our conversation of the digital marketing revenue management combinations. These are those conversations. The revenue manager sees this data and he knows she knows all the other channel contributions and where they're coming from and so forth. That's get tied.
Yeah. So that's good. That excited me to see them there and to find out really what they're up to. Because you don't see Oracle at these events. You don't see many of the other PMS companies coming to these events. And I think it's too bad because I think they're robbing themselves of being able to think outside of their current comp set and how they can really add value. And, you add value to customers, that does eventually turn into money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I talked to, and I'm blanking on the name. There was another user-generated content company there. Did you speak to them?
Oh, Shoot. Right?
No, it was something else. No. I can look it up, but they're more, kind of like Flip2 in a way, but they don't focus as much on the direct side, getting an actual guest data. It's more of an aggregation of hashtags and things like that, and using that for marketing purposes, creating albums and things like that. So,
which is great, but I think it's obviously Flip2 thinks this way. But Flip2 thinks this way because I think this way. I think the most important part of UGC is the user. Not the content they generated. The content they generated is the byproduct of a good experience, and the true value to tap is the value of that user and their voice. And I think these aggregators, listen, a lot of them didn't become content aggregators because they thought content aggregation was like the product. A lot of them did it because they wanted to build ad platforms, and they went about solving a problem that they had to fix for that, which is hotels don't have enough content, right? Mm-hmm. I think the problem is they didn't recognize that hotels, because all these aggregators, they're multi-industry, they're not industry specific. They're treating hotels engagement with a guest, similarly to the way that SC Johnson would treat a user of baby shampoo. And I think there's a very different relationship at play there. And so I think hotels that focus on just UGC for the purpose of conversion or enrichment of site, one, don't spend a lot of money on it because it's not going to drive enough value. And some of these platforms, I don't know about the one that was there, but some of these platforms are like 2 to 3 times the price of Flip2.
It was expensive for sure.
Yeah. And
I would say this about them though. They did a really good pregame before the show, reaching out. And I don't know if you guys got hit up like I did before.
Oh no, then that means they actually did database segmentation. That's great.
So they not only did that, because I got hit up by probably 4 or 5 different people, and the others were all very generic. It was like a blanket message that they sent to everyone. But these guys actually took the time to research who I was, the fact that I was English, came up with a funny subject, custom personalized subject line, and found some commonalities between us and built a relationship. So that was the reason I went up to them, because they've done such a good job on their pregame. So there's a message there, right, for all the vendors at any kind of show, is your pregame is almost as important as your presence, at the actual show. In terms of creating that initial relationship. Yeah.
I think there should be a class on how. I mean, every conference has its vendor guidelines, and they're always very strangulating because there's always vendors or marketers that are trying to circumnavigate them and so forth. But and this one, you can't go more than 5 feet from your table. You can't, do lots of that kind of stuff too.
What?
But they really don't. Wow.
Yeah.
Do they weren't allowed to go mingle or anything, or?
They could, but they couldn't pitch. They could talk about who they are. They could introduce who they are, but they couldn't pitch. They couldn't engage the group. Now, that's from a monetization. That if you wanted to sponsor, put something in somebody's chair, that's it's just.
Jeez.
Yeah, I'm just going to hang my head on that one.
Yeah. All right. Old Ed's back.
Yeah. Well, okay. There you go. Yay. Welcome back, Ed.
That is HSMAI, forgetting who pays the bills.
Well, that's it. There's this restrictiveness to it. It's like, they don't want you to venture from the tables. They need you to stay within radius of the table. You can introduce and engage yourself individually when you're in the group space. During breakout sessions, you're not allowed to talk to people while the sessions are going on, unless it's breakout. You can't solicit questions based on behalf of your own company when you're at breakouts.
Well, that's a good one, because that makes sense.
I'm not saying all these things are bad.
That's an a-hole move to do that as a vendor.
That could be that one blanket rule, right? Don't be an a-hole. Just don't be an a-hole and you're good.
Yeah. I think it's good. Lauren, you're muted. So are you muted because you were being an a-hole, or?
I was being an a-hole. I was like, they should just be they should be like the rule. Don't be an a-hole, and then there's a-hole police. So when you're an a-hole, hey, sorry, dude, you're an a-hole. Gotta go. Yeah. Little a-hole police badge or something like that. But
I volunteer for that job. I would like to.
Because it takes kind of good. Yeah, it takes one of those people to kind of call them out on it. But I also, by the same token, I think that don't send dumb people to be representing your company.
Yeah.
Know your product. Know what the value of your product is.
Yeah. Well, and know your industry.
Yeah.
Again, you don't just the value of interactions at a trade show are not about, oh, I finally caught you. It's actually about humanizing yourself in the eyes of the person that you are trying to work with, and building a real relationship, a relationship that should exist whether or not you work for the company that you met them from. And that's one of the things I love about this industry is I feel like you build real friendships, like friendships to a level where you find out things years after knowing someone that just blow your mind.
I know where this is going. That's hilarious.
I was wondering when this was going to come up. But before you go down this bad rabbit hole, I will say, don't also send sales reps that don't know your product just because they're cute. Okay, and I'm going to point out a product that we all love, but I'm only going to say it's the T word. Okay, and I had a rep come in to discuss performance from the fact that they're engaged with one of my clients is to talk about performance and to talk about the product value and so forth. So she came in, wonderfully attractive, very pleasant person. But the War of 1812 happened in 1812, and there was a war. That's about what we got from the performance report. It was 2 pages, which is the normal email that we get about the performance report. No value proposition, no future roadmap, no this is what we can do, just smile and wave. And
not overly enchanting, you would say.
No engagement whatsoever. Wonderful person, very pleasant. Don't get me wrong, from a sales perspective, somebody who want to represent you from an aesthetic point of view, but absolutely product zero.
I hate people who do that because you know what? First of all, they could train her, and then like add value to her career and everything. Instead, they're being lazy as employers and chauvinistic.
Yeah, warm body. It's a warm body. Maybe you'll be dazzled by the looks and forget the questions.
That's insulting. It's insulting to this industry. It's insulting. Anyway, I don't find it enchanting.
But I say that also to those who vend for.
I feel like it sends the wrong message.
It does. It does.
And someone like that should be sent to a dungeon.
That's possible too. But in the meanwhile, even at conferences, they shouldn't send people like that either. Okay, you walk up to a table, so tell me your product. Well, it's here. Have a little squishy sumo, and have a little pencil holder, and yeah. But I want to know about your product.
Were they the ones giving out the sumos, or was that someone else?
Who was that? No, that was W Promote. I
didn't get a chance to see what the sumo was, but it was very clever, and it drew me in. I just didn't have time to go over.
Yeah, it was a little baby sumo squishy toy or something like that. I'm a trashy thing.
Was there shtick to it? Like,
no, there was
the cover.
I asked them. They said it was the same cost if it was a round ball, so they went with sumo. I'm like, oh, creative genius.
Oh, man, come up with something. Come up with a reason.
Wait, but that was a marketing company, right?
We won't go there. It's previous for me, but yes, it's I don't understand. I actually asked him, was like, so what's with the sumo? And he literally said because it was the same price as the round ball.
Oh, but you know them, so possibly that was the Shut Up Lauren.
Might have been the Shut Up Lauren. It could have been the Shut Up Lauren.
Okay.
But yeah,
if anyone else got a better story about the sumo, I'd like to hear it because I could come up with a couple right now.
Go for it.
Small guy, big guy, or something, or crush your competition or something, or
crush your competition like a sweaty fat man.
I can relate to that. That. I'm good with that one. But anyway,
so with that, we were leading up.
Yes.
Really,
I wish there were other hosts on to see. I want to see a real-time reaction to this.
I know.
You could save it.
Is there anyone listening that wants to jump in?
Tim Peter obviously knows because his response to my clever.
I sent him an email. He had asked me.
Oh, okay. But he didn't know.
I guess he hadn't heard the story.
No, but you guys were
that with anyone else?
You guys were the first to hear from my lips that I told you guys.
So Stuart, as you heard, after the closing of the digital marketing conference is when Stuart and I learned the most interesting thing we had learned all week. And so we were
far worth the price of admission alone was
I wrote this whole trip off to this subject.
I'm glad it was
actually, if you want to go back and shoot the videos, instead of introducing myself as Flip2, I'm going to introduce myself as the person who got to experience the upcoming story. So we're at a lovely dim sum place, and as you've heard, we were all tired, and actually we were kind of monotone up until, and Stuart, how did it come up? How did Lauren bring up this?
So he said, he looked and said, now you're probably going to think less of me for telling this story, but.
No, that's right, because it started raining.
Yeah,
and Lauren started stuttering a bit.
Yeah.
And
he was distracted, looking out the window.
And this is when we find out that Lauren has been struck by lightning.
Just
not
pretty impressive, right?
Yeah, which both Stuart and I were like, holy smokes, we had so many questions just on being struck by lightning.
What did it feel like? You remember it? Were you unconscious? We're like, and then I thought he said twice. That was when he first said it, I thought he said twice, which blew my mind initially.
Yeah. But then it actually turns out that he's telling us, incorrectly, mind you, we'll get to how we know that. He's telling us that he's actually been struck by lightning directly. 3 times, and telling us
like directly hit him, knocked him unconscious,
like
3 times.
in the head.
Right. One of them, he was inside. The lightning came through the window. He was in the shower, and it knocked him over into the toilet. Yes. Not literally into the toilet.
So at this point, both Stuart and I. It felt like we couldn't talk over each other loud enough to get our questions out.
It gave me a chance to get more dim sum. It worked out perfect for me. I was able to just mount the whole dim sum, I think. Yeah.
So I think probably 3 questions in, I immediately asked Lauren, why aren't you leading with this? Why have I known you so long and I didn't know that you've been struck by lightning? And then Lauren
3 times.
3 times.
3 times.
And then so Lauren starts telling stories about his run-ins with lightning, and we realize, like, he's going through the scenarios, and then we realize there's more than 3.
More than 3, yeah.
So,
I don't count the other
Lauren
ones.
has been directly struck 3 times, but has been indirectly struck by lightning an additional 3 times, for a total of 6 times. And I promise you that any of the stories that Lauren isn't claiming as a direct lightning strike, you as a human, if you went through that experience, you would be positioning that story as, when I got struck by lightning. And so Lauren has actually been studied by the University of Florida.
That's true. That is true.
To understand
why.
1, why is he the lightning rod?
Yes.
And 2, how's he not dead?
And it has no long-term lasting impact on you, right, Lauren? When you get it, you just black out for a while and then you're fine afterwards?
Yeah. I mean, my wife, she probably says this explains a lot of the aspects of me, but yes, nothing actually afterwards other than,
I think the part where my mind blew was, like you said, Ed, when he's describing each of them in detail, right? So there's one time where I was hanging out washing or whatever it was. You're outside, right? And it came through a post. One, I was in the shower. There's another one. He goes, and then there was the time when I was in the car and the car just died because it got struck by lightning. I'm like, whoa, that's a 4th. And he's like,
the car got hit. I didn't get hit. The car got hit.
When I was riding the bike and it got hit. And then when I was scuba diving, all the fish around me died because the water was struck by lightning where I was. I'm like, that's 6 times. Anyone else would claim that as a struck by lightning. If I have one of those incidents, that I would lead every conversation with. You remember this? Or do you know about the time I was scuba diving?
It would be my
all the fish died.
It would be my Cornell. I would do just like every Cornell grad does, and I would make sure I work that into the first time I meet anyone.
Yeah. And I'm happy for the fact, because my first thought was that you would look at me and said that explains a lot of the behavioral disorder stuff.
That came later. That actually came after dinner, and I actually spent a lot of time thinking through it. I'm like, it explains so much, because we also asked questions about superpowers
and alienship, whether I was an alien. Yeah, that came up.
Yeah, which she did also add to the story about the ball lightning story.
Yes, ball lightning. As a child, he witnessed ball lightning, and anyone who doesn't know what ball lightning is, go ahead and Google that. And interestingly enough, I did some research after, and the odds are pretty steep to get struck by lightning. But then after that, they fall quite a bit, ironically.
So your chances of hitting a second time once you've been struck once?
Yeah, are much more favorable than the first time.
See? So I'm just running with the odds.
Well, I doubt there are many people in the history of humanity that have been struck 6 times, Lauren.
But then you were good enough to point out by asking the question, so this has been happening for several years. This is it was during a window of about 4 years. And you're like, so it was my lightning phase.
Yes. Yeah. Lauren had a lightning.
I had a lightning
Other
round.
people become a goth for a little while.
Stuart had a
Yeah,
piercing
decided to
phase. Lauren had a
That's
lightning.
right.
I had a lightning phase to it. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. Actually, I forgot to mention I even was covered in the news. They did a news coverage on the fact that I had been hit by lightning, and they reenacted my drive to the hospital because it was a news item.
I will find that.
It's in Tampa. It's Tampa news. Tampa State.
Yeah, I'll find it.
Early '90s.
Wow.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
So next time you see Lauren, ask him about his lightning experience.
My lightning
Share
experience.
glowing detail.
Now the party. Now we're gonna have all the puns. It's the lightning round, and yeah, it's gonna go. It's just gonna go bad from here. It's just
We got to come up with some good lightning related nicknames for you now.
Yes. I should change. I should get some domain names just because of it. But yeah, I thought I'd share that in the camaraderie, the spirit of sharing that we're on this show together.
Well, but scientifically, I want to go more into this. I mean, I had questions. I wanted to know prior to being struck any of the lightning times, were you shorter? Because Lauren's rather tall.
No,
and I didn't know if maybe like the lightning caused him to grow.
Nope, nothing from that. Didn't get smarter.
Maybe he was
Didn't
a
get
better
slower.
conductor because he was taller. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, or not smart enough to get out of the rain, which was what started the whole conversation. We were at the dim sum's place. It was like, oh look, it's raining,
That's
it's lightning, and then I tell about how Renee, my wife, will every time it is lightning outside is no, you're not going outside. You're staying inside.
Yeah, and she moves about 20 feet away from you.
Pretty much. Yeah, she lets me sit alone on those days.
Although,
Yeah.
as we know, Lauren's been struck by lightning inside house.
Yes,
This is
but it was close to a metal frame window. Okay, I was on by the exterior
That's
wall.
every house in Florida has metal frame windows. So
I'm not making that point, but it is true. Yes, it is supposed to be an exterior wall to it, but
So your wife should really be sending you outside so not to damage the furniture.
pretty much has to damage the house. Yeah, and now I
Yeah.
wonder why she got the increased life insurance policy that's specifically towards being struck by lightning. I think there might be probably a clause in this.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so that was by far that conversation was the
but you know what?
complete high point of my week this week.
What I loved first off was your all's first reaction was, "You got superpowers, right?" Because it's like
That's how the Flash got his power.
I'm in the right crowd when the first reaction is what I would be like. So what? Like the hammer of Thor? What did did you get to like Flash or something like that? It's like, yeah, I'm with the right people. When my first reaction is that, or dude, are you an alien? So you did it right. Exactly what I was hoping was like, these are the people I want to hang with. Because my first reaction would be the same of, man, you're different. You came from another planet or something. So yeah.
I mean, our Slack channel about Lauren getting struck by lightning has some of the funniest animated GIFs in it that you would ever.
I gotta know these ones. I gotta see.
And that was in a matter of minutes.
Oh, good. I've got a Slack page for lightning
I
strikes.
have not shared it with the team yet, but I
One of my designers wanted to call it the Lauren Gray phenomena.
Yeah.
And had a picture of a Greek statue.
Oh, see, I'm already loving this.
And then Hunter, who does our video work, had a picture of, God, I think his name's is it Flash from Pokemon or Dash, hugging Pikachu with lightning. So,
see, I gotta come back. I gotta come up to the office. When I get back to Florida, I gotta come up. I gotta go say hi and thank everybody for the animes.
Well, let me ask you this, Lauren. Are you sure? Are you 100% positive you don't have superpowers? Just because you haven't discovered them yet doesn't mean you don't have them.
No, I'll go with that because I'm believing that there's something somewhere, but I haven't been able to shoot lightning bolts yet or nothing. I'm thinking it'd be a great thing, but no, nothing. I wish there was.
You can absorb 1.21 gigawatts. Without having problems.
Which
That's
means you're some type of capacitor. So that should mean at some point a discharge can happen.
True.
Yeah, I mean, if anybody shows up with a Mr. Fusion, I know I got a storyline.
Yeah.
Because they're going to come back to the future just for me. Be like, look, hold these two terminals. You're my flux capacitor.
Now, do you shock people when you shake their hand a lot? Do you build up a lot of static electricity?
I actually do. I did when it's cold and the sweaters and stuff. Yeah, there's definitely some markage that goes on.
Mm-hmm. If we rub you hard enough, can we stick you on a wall?
I can be like a balloon on a wall. Yeah, I can be like that big.
All I'm going to say today, Stuart, there were two things you said. That one, And then one that I didn't react to when you were talking about groups sharing, when you were talking about groups sharing DNA, that just instantly like were inappropriate.
Yeah,
I'm on a roll these days. Last week on that podcast, I talked about lubrication of friction, and the guys lost it.
Actually, to be more specific, you talked about friction and lubrication.
Yeah,
you just didn't.
I did.
You just didn't do the lubrication. You started with the friction conversation, then you talked about the lubrication,
and then I started talking about pushing it really firmly.
Firmly, yes, firm application.
You guys just need to get your mind out the gutters. I'm talking about digital.
You tried that then too, but then you went back to referring to show 69 a lot too. And I'm not lying. Y'all did
this. Is true.
Okay, we did refer to show 69 as being one of your highlight shows. Right after you talked about friction, lubrication, and firm application. So
yeah, this is true.
Yeah, it was the show of shows.
Yes. So there you go. And now there is
this one.
The sharing of DNA and the rubbing of Lauren Gray.
Anyway,
and I believe you said rubbing him really hard.
I did.
Yeah. And so I'm going to be a pinata.
Now here's the thing, but like the part that plays over in my head is, so I was trying to then think about how do we introduce this on the show, and I was hoping that other hosts were going to be on because I was going to call one of them Thunder. and have them ask why all of a sudden I was calling them Thunder. And it was because they always come after Lauren, who is obviously Lightning.
And
at that point is when Stuart just stopped laughing, stopped talking, and just laid his forehead down on the table for a solid 2 minutes, like without movement. And mind you, none of us were drinking because we were too tired, and yet we became the rowdiest, loudest people in that restaurant.
Yeah, and we were pretty much asked to leave at the end. Yeah,
we were. Yeah. They were. You've had page 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yeah, it's time to go. But to that end, I can't tell you how much fun I did have over dinner. It really was, regardless of turning into the focuses of whether I was an alien from another planet or not. It was an awesome conversation.
I'm not gonna lie, I suspected it before, but now, like,
I'm just confirmed.
There is some affirmational, right? There is some affirmation.
It's not whether or not you're an alien; it's where you're from. That's the question.
Yeah. And then I added to the fact that I don't know we start talking about the DNA stuff and everything. And I don't know where my father's from. Yeah, that added to that too, I'm sure. So,
Star-Lord, right?
Yes, Star-Lord. Yes, my dad's a planet. I didn't tell you. Yeah.
Possible, man. It's possible.
Yeah.
Like, So Lauren definitely shocked us at dinner.
Yeah, he stole the show for sure.
He really did.
Yeah. Oh, it was good.
You should get up on stage as the keynote next year and just tell the story of how
the lighting story. The lighting story. I got to ask them next year. It's like, I think you ran out of the farthest place you could plug us in for the table next time. Maybe if you put us somewhere around the same floor.
They did that on purpose, by the way. They did it because last year we had all those noise issues and everything. She asked me, and I actually liked where we were because we didn't have nearly the amount of interruptions that we had last year.
We didn't have a lot of traffic either, though. We didn't have a lot of people walking by as much as we did.
There weren't a lot of people leaving the room this year in general.
It was pretty tight schedule, everyone stayed in with the
it was so tight together that they didn't have time to change out the signs for who was actually presenting in what rooms.
Yeah. And that's why you couldn't find Lauren's, right?
I could not find
because it still has that one. Yeah.
Well, they also set the rooms up on the side. I got to say, I hope they don't do that again. This horizontal.
Well, they will. That's how the rooms were last year.
Were they? I thought they were.
They just weren't as long. They were smaller rooms.
Yeah. Honestly, as an attendee, it wasn't bad because you had the two big screens. It actually felt a little less claustrophobic. I think from a speaker perspective, it was probably difficult because you're looking.
It's hard to do the whole left-right thing the whole time, but okay. Yeah, maybe you're right from the speaker. Yeah, because it did have the two screens. Yeah, probably was a better solution out of it. So,
I love that property, man. They hosted well. I think it's a good facility.
Well, they've done it. I mean, God knows they've done it so much. But in contrast, because I didn't even think we were going to spend more than a half hour, and here we are ticking up on an hour. But the thing that is really different for people who would come next year is if you're going to do the Adrians for the reception, which most people know by coming to the Adrians is the thing.
Which a $400 ticket to a reception is a bit steep.
But don't drink.
Hey, there you go. Tell HSMAI to sell Adrian reception tickets.
Yeah. Because the conversations at that reception are freaking awesome. The people you get to talk to don't come into sales pitch. Don't come in to say, this is what I do. just start eavesdropping on some of these conversations and get invited into them, it is really impressive, the conversational content that you get, because everybody's in a time constraint because it's just a short period of time, and you want to see as many people as you can that you recognize in the industry. And believe me, there's a lot of people that you're like, oh my God, that's them in person or something. It's crazy the conversations you get to listen to and even participate.
Well, and they're much better than the conversations you have at the bar after the Adrians.
I don't know about that. I do not know about that, because I'll tell you, those are some pretty intense conversations at the bar at the end of the Adrians.
Yeah.
But then everybody's either happy they won an award, or happy they know somebody that won an award, or just happy for somebody. But you get to actually do some pretty intense conversations because you can disagree and nobody cares. And you really can get pretty aggressive about that disagreement. But it was a lot of fun. But that compared to the digital conference, which is just brain food. The digital conference really is a lot of brain food.
They should probably do the Adrians after the digital conference, because
I think, yeah. And they had record attendance this year. They had 360 some odd at the digital conference, which
I know. I hope it doesn't get any bigger than that. I remember when Rock was that size, and those were my favorite years.
Yeah, they were magic. Yeah,
but now Rock is like 700-800.
Over 800. I think it was close to 9 this year.
Yeah,
and did they even have record attendance at the Adrians, which they did 800 and something, 820, 30 or something like that, which was bigger than they had planned for. They had to throw a couple extra tables, but the digital one, I agree with you. If it breaks 400, it's not going to be the same thing, I don't think. Because then you don't have enough time to meet and greet and spend. You get into these groups of people and you don't get to really share as much. That's the magic of this one, is that everybody's sharing information. There's no, if I tell you, you're going to use it against me. It's like, no, it's all good.
It was like a big family reunion. You see your friends and everyone shares.
So we were actually at 2 conferences this week. We can bring this back to business. So there was another marketing conference this week, but this one was the Connect Travel Marketing Leadership Summit, which was focused on the destinations marketing people. And that was here in Orlando, which was a really, so let's talk about the differences in the conferences. So this was also educational, but to pay the bills and add value. It was also had a appointment-based scheduling system. So you actually met with vendors that you wanted to meet with, and you had 8 minutes. And that was it, just to meet, see what you want to talk about. And then there were educational sessions around it. And I actually spoke in the opening session about innovation in destination marketing with 2 other really clever startups in the space. Really good event, really good event. We're definitely doing it again next year. This was the first year they did this. And considering it was the first year they did it, I'm really impressed. And it's Will, the previous CEO from Visit Florida, who put this event together. So it was that was the other marketing conference this week, where the destinations were meeting to talk.
Where was that held? Where was that?
That was held at the Hyatt Regency in Orlando, so that's the old Peabody, right across from the Orlando Convention Center.
How many different DMOs were there, would you say?
Probably about 70 people.
Wow.
So that probably represented 35 DMOs, but we got to meet Kennedy Space Center.
Did you get a tour?
We're going out to tour it in 2 weeks. We're getting a private tour. Yep. We were buttering that guy up because he had an interesting marketing background, and we're like, yeah, but now you're selling spaceships.
Yeah.
So he was like, you guys should come out. And we're like, we should.
We should.
But yeah, it was a really neat event, and had like DMOs from all over. I mean, Spokane was there.
Wow.
That's about, in continental U.S. anyways, that's about as far as you can get from Orlando. And just a really great event. And their whole angle, Connect Travel's whole angle, is appointment-based meetings actually help you educate yourself on what's out there, what's available to you, and takes you through, understanding what's out there. And it's difficult. It's difficult to plan for an 8-minute meeting.
Yes.
It is. Yeah, I've done some of the BITACs in the past, and it's a very different format. But as long as the attendees are qualified, as long as they're there for the right reasons and not just for a free lunch, which some of these other
BITAC I think goes a little
conferences
too
end up.
far. Yeah, because they make it like it's known that the reason you come as a buyer to BITAC is you're going to get wined and dined in the nicest hotels with the nicest meals. Where this was, hey, you're looking to see what's new, what's out there. And so they actually had, so we were able to see like what destinations were looking to learn more about content marketing or social or ad marketing. Like there was like, you actually could see what they listed as their interests. And then there was a scheduling request. So you actually requested to meet with them, and only if they reciprocated did you get the meeting.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Which was nice. So we only met with people who said they wanted to meet with us. So the meetings were pretty good.
So it's like Tinder and speed dating combined. It's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
But of course we cheated. We just went and outreached all of them beforehand, gave them our pitch electronically. So when we met them,
that's
we
not
just
cheating. That's doing a good pregame.
That was good.
That's
good pregame, right? Yeah. So that was so if you feel like the HSMAI digital marketing strategy conference isn't right for you, I do recommend if you're in the destination side of things. And there were actually a couple of hotels at this event too. Tradewinds from St. Pete was there. So if you're interested in understanding what destinations are thinking about in the world,
who was repping them? Dave Bennett? Was Dave Bennett over there? Or
for Tradewinds? No, it was I think her name was Kathy, the director of marketing.
Okay.
So it was an interesting audience, and definitely some good educational stuff. And they brought in good people. They brought in just really high quality people.
Did the closing keynote do a really bad Austin Powers impression?
No, and that's the other.
Okay, that was exclusive to HSMAI. Okay.
HSMAI exclusively found the only person who probably caused like 38 or 39 Me Too moments in their ending speech, because there were.
I don't mean to laugh at that, but it's funny.
There were some inappropriate things in the ending keynote at the digital marketing conference, and actually, what was cracking me up the most was the keynote speaker's girlfriend, like belly laughing at all his puns, like. Inappropriately loud, and Stuart had the pleasure of sitting at the same table as her. So Stuart's face was actually cracking me.
I hope no one was recording me through it, because I definitely didn't hide my feelings during the.
No, you didn't. And Lauren just got up. Lauren just
left.
I gotta go.
Left. Yeah. I gotta go.
But then I was like, crap. Now I can't get up because Lauren got up.
Yeah.
And I sat up front so I could support Stuart in his.
We came in for you, buddy. We
appreciate it.
But it was the keynote closer was Dave was one of those.
Character.
Yeah, there it is.
Character.
Hey, I have to go. You're more than welcome to stay if you'd like.
No, I actually should do work.
I gotta run too.
I mean, I'm actually at my client, so I'm like, I kind of burned your conference room for an hour, but thank you for the space.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for bringing up my deep dark past on the show today. Thank you so much.
I say it's an awfully bright past.
It is a bright past.
Some would say almost as bright as the surface of the sun.
Surface of the sun. Might as well be walking on the sun. Yeah. But show 134 next week will bring us back to semblance. Although I will be doing kind of this also remotely. I'm going to DC next week. I
may or may not be on the show. It depends. I'm in St. Pete next week for the Navis Leadership Conference, and I'm not sure how far into Friday it goes.
All right, because I have speaking, so I'm going to see what I can do about maybe.
What are you speaking about in DC?
Two Roads asked me to come speak to the Revenue Managers and Ownership Group. They're doing their first Revenue GM Marketing Conference.
Is it at their Embassy Row?
No, it's at the Suave. It's that French word.
Joie de vie.
Thank you. There, and so actually, I was very flattered because I have about 25% of their entire time slots for the day and a half. I'm speaking.
I have an idea for when you're in the middle and maybe losing the audience a bit, for a fun little story in personal branding that you learned just the last week.
Yes, that it has such a value to it. Yes.
You met with two brilliant minds in marketing, and they consulted with you on a personal branding opportunity.
Yes. I should point this out to them. Yes. I'll have to stretch it into my presentation somewhere. Yes.
I look for your life coach.
Yeah. But anyway, so with that being said, Mr. Stuart, if people want to find out more about you, also your presentation, by the way, if you have your deck, dude, I'll put it on the site as well for it. Or are you going to do you have a separate site for your presentation you did?
I need to remember what it is. It's fueltravel.com/HSMAI. And give me about 5 minutes before you try that, because I'm going to have to switch out the link.
Good deal. You got it.
Fueltravel.com/HSMAI.
Because it's last year's HSMAI right now.
It's the one we did for the South Carolina chapter in November or December.
It's just a little content updating kind of thing.
And actually, my other deck is already live, because we did the day before for the resort group breakout, the luncheon. We did a breakout there, and that's at /HSMAI2. So fueltravel.com/HSMAI2. So if you want to see the other part to the number 2. Okay. The number 2. So if you want to see the other part, they're kind of counterparts. It's the R2D2 to the C3PO. They're counterparts to each other, the two presentations. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
And your podcast?
And then the podcast is at fueltravel.com/podcast, or wherever you get podcasts from. Just search for Fuel Hotel Marketing Podcast.
And we should ask, thank you, Mr. Ed, for his kind sponsorship of our live coverage of the HSMAI Digital Conference.
That's right. I paid to be there to do nothing but live broadcast the event.
And
That's funny. Where are the videos, Lauren? If someone wants to
where are the videos?
I haven't loaded them because I haven't had bandwidth to load them yet. Okay. They will be. Well, the link itself. Crap, what is it?
Don't worry about it.
Digital.
How about you put them up and you send them to us?
Yeah, I'll send them over to you. HSMAI Digital, I think, is going to be the page name for it. But I'll go over.
So it'll be This Week in Hospitality Digital Marketing by Lauren Gray, brought to you by Flip2 and Fuel Travel on the World Wide Web.com/. I like that you muted yourself for whatever you just said. So Lauren Gray, if people want to find you not at a hotel, where can they go?
Any lightning storms?
Lightning storms at hospitalitydigitalmarketing.com/live for the broadcast of the show.
Soon we should see the lightninground.com.
It's coming. A whole subfolder on my website now on
Lauren's Lightning Round.
Lauren's Lightning Round. Nice. He's fast, but yes. But anyway, thank you very much for taking the time to make it after we just spent so much time together and covered live. I mean, Ed, thank you. You did the interview with Hilton. We had conversations with the people.
By the way, Stuart, you'd appreciate he reached out this morning asking how bad it was. So my response was it was amazing. I was in it.
Yeah.
Of course it was great.
Of course it was great.
That was his response.
You were okay, but I was phenomenal.
I was marvelous. But yes.
So, Ed, speaking of egotism, where can they find you on the web?
Oh, well, yes. You can find me at on social media, Edward StOnge. Twitter, if you care about hearing how I feel about UCF. Facebook, if you want to see endless photos of my family. LinkedIn, if you want to see me just experiment on posting. And then you can find out about Flip2 by going to www.flip.to.
Outstanding. Gentlemen, again, thank you again. First off, for the chance to hang out with you in person for a while.
It was fun.
That was awesome. It really was.
That was fun, yeah.
Yeah, and we'll look forward to the next chance we have to do it again. And then, as always, with the show and the time today. So, until next one, we'll show 134. Yeah, next week. We'll see you next Friday, hopefully. But until then, thanks everyone for watching. We'll catch up with you then. Bye now.
Thanks.
Bye.